Hello there everybody and welcome back to Movie Squirm. Today I'm going to be reviewing the 2023 film The Exorcist Believer, and this is directed by David Gordon Green and stars Leslie Odom Jr. and Ellen Burstyn. This tells the story of two young girls who go missing in the woods only to return 3 days later, both seen to be possessed by an evil demon. Now I gotta be honest, when they announced a Exorcist Legacy sequel, I thought that was kind of strange because The Exorcist, I know it's had its sequels, but it really should just be a standalone film. I'm not against sequels or remakes or anything, but this one just seemed a little bit off to me, and I was wondering what direction they were going to go with it. And the fact that this might even be a trilogy is even a little bit more weirder to me, but I was willing to give it a chance. And David Gordon Green isn't a director I hate on or anything. I actually like 2 of his 3 Halloween films, and one of them films is actually Halloween Ends, so I'm up for something a little bit different there. And I gotta be honest, I was actually looking forward to this when it all was about to be released and the trailers were popping out. I got a little bit hyped. So what did I think of The Exorcist Believer, despite some negativity I'd heard going in? Let's find out. And I appreciate what David Gordon Green was trying to do here. He is setting up a new story while trying to attach it to the original. And the movie does take its time. He allows the characters in the story to try and breathe and set out what he's trying to do and let the viewer the direction he's going in. And I think this is necessary for a planned trilogy, especially. But even if it's just the one movie that is trying to be attached to the original, I do think it's necessary as well to take your time with it and not rush into things. So I appreciate what he was trying to do there, and it worked for the first 30 minutes, but more on this in a minute. And as far as David Gordon Green goes with his directing, I think he is a very good director when he's behind the camera. There's some really nice shots here, and the movie has a nice autumnal feeling about it. It's all very nicely lit, like the Halloween movies, where it's very nice to look at. It's darkly beautiful, if you like. I think the idea to have 2 young girls possessed this time was a nice approach to this subgenre. We see demonic possession movies every single year, don't we? But I don't think I've seen it quite go in this direction, and it feels like double trouble at times. No, it feels very, very dangerous, put it that way, for other side characters in the movie, and it brings with it a lot more challenges for them and a lot more questions for them as well to answer when they're trying to help these girls along and get this demon out of them.
One girl lives, one girl dies.
You get to choose.
And I think the makeup design on these 2 young girls was pretty awesome as well. I like how they did what they did in the first Exorcist movie, where as they're deteriorating, the makeup design gets a little bit heavier and heavier scene by scene. And I think there was no complaints in that department, how good and creepy they looked. Now, despite 2 young girls being possessed here, Leslie Odom Jr. is the lead protagonist of this film. He's the lens for the viewer. He's the one we go through to see this story out. And this guy can act his ass off, man. I mean, I think he is a fantastic actor, and he's great in this movie with what he has to work with. Unfortunately, he doesn't have much to work with. He is a character who's lost his faith because of a tragic loss 15 years or something before this is happening, and that is just a generic story arc, isn't it? Now, we all sort of know which direction that's kind of going to go in, but what he had to work with, and when he was on screen, he commanded the presence. He's got this real lead quality about him, and what he had to work with, I thought he was the best character in this movie by far. Now I just want to talk about the slow burn storytelling that we have here. As I've got older, I've really started to appreciate slow burn storytelling in horror movies. I like the build up, the anticipation and stuff, but there's a certain speed that I can appreciate, and then there's just slow, and this is the case with this movie, unfortunately. Now, don't get me wrong, I was never really bored watching this. It's a watchable story, but from getting to A to B to C doesn't feel like we're really progressing much. I don't think the writing is quite on point there. It feels like the story is just lingering and sort of dragging its feet a little bit to see the runtime out. which is unfortunate because it's just characters talking about what they're going to do and how they're going to help these kids who are possessed and trying to decide the best way around it. That's mainly what it is for the first hour. Now, there are one or two creepy scenes thrown in there, but I don't think they really brought anything to it. It was mainly just the same feel for the first hour. And speaking of all the characters in this movie, I just don't think there was anyone remotely interesting here apart from Victor. Again, he didn't have the greatest material to work with, but he is the standout. But no one really done it for me here. There's a couple of characters who have these character arcs to go on. For example, there's one woman who regrets something years earlier when she was a kid and she wants to make up for it. I mean, we've seen that one all before. Again, we've seen Victor's, redemption faith arc there. It's just things we've seen a lot. And none of these characters really stood out. There's usually one or two who are there for a little bit of uniqueness or stand out with the comedy or whatever you want to throw in. But no, I just think all these characters were very, very bland indeed. Good performances enough. I mean, no one was a bad actor or anything, but these characters were either just meh or actually unlikable. We even have Chris McNeil coming back here, and unfortunately, without getting into spoilers, I just feel like his character was totally wasted. Ellen Burstyn was the absolute best thing about The Exorcist, the original movie for me. When I done my review, I went into detail of why she is the best character in that movie. She's the standout performer. And here, it feels like they didn't utilise her very well. It was kind of a disservice to that character. I just didn't see the point, really. I mean, when I heard she was coming back, that's what really got me hyped a little bit more for this movie. I thought, okay, they're definitely going to be, going for this sequel. They're definitely going to be attaching this to the original as much as they can, and it's going to feel like a true sequel. But really, it just felt like they threw Ellen Burstyn in there for a little bit of a gimmick and put Exorcist in the title and said, this is an Exorcist sequel now. Look at us. Look what we've got. And I don't think it worked at all bringing her character back, unfortunately, because that should be one of the biggest draws to the film. And that just brings me to my point that this just didn't feel like an Exorcist sequel to me at all. I mean, take The Exorcist, the original movie, hailed as the scariest movie of all time back in 1973, and for some people, it still is. When I rewatched it a few weeks ago, I could see why people thought this was scary, and it had a very dark feel about it. But here, I know it's very, very hard to scare audiences these days, myself included. I am not easily scared, but man, you think there'd be something there, at least just a little bit of something that really makes you feel uneasy and creeped out. But apart from one little jump scare that wasn't even that great, I can't really see many people being scared by this movie at all. And that is a damn shame. I mean, it just doesn't feel like it's in the same world as the first film. Apart from Chris McNeil and The Exorcist, like I said in the title, this film might as well be called Doubly Possessed or something. I'd even argue that The Exorcist 3 feels more like a sequel than this one, even though it goes in a bold new direction. You can see the attachments there a lot to the first movie. And that wasn't even meant to be an Exorcist sequel. This is just another generic possession-based movie that we see every few months. And they have 2 girls possessed in this one instead of 1. That's it.
Are you looking for Reagan?
Are you looking for Reagan? She burns in hell!
Now, this might be a very, very, very minor spoiler alert here. I'm not going to give story away. I'm just going to say what the third act is all about. So, a little bit of a warning there. But when we eventually get to the third act, after this very, very slow burn build-up, it just didn't do it for me. I mean, it's just basically these 2 possessed girls screaming and shouting and characters throwing holy water over them. I mean, I could have guessed that was going to happen. Something we've seen a hell of a lot of times in movies. And even though David Gordon Green was trying to build this up to be something, it just falls flat on its face. I just didn't care for it at all. Sadly, this was a big disappointment for me, guys. Like I said, it's a watchable movie. It has its moments. I was never really bored. But you've just got to expect another possession movie. And if you like that type of thing, this one might be for you. But I feel like the writers didn't do their job here. I mean, they are touching sacred gold within the horror genre here. And it feels like they just picked up any old script that had demonic possession in it, changed a few things around, added a few characters here and there, and said, yeah, that'll do. I don't think they quite knew how to write this one out to attach it to the original. David Gordon Green, I think he's got the passion for horror, but he just didn't execute this one very well, unfortunately. I'm just going to go ahead and rate this movie now. I'm going to give The Exorcist Believer a generous 5 out of 10. I hope this will improve for me on rewatch. I don't know when that's going to be. Anytime soon, probably not. But I will watch it again at some point. And maybe I can see the vision a little bit more there. Probably if they bring another one out, I'll go back to it then. But for now, it's a serviceable demonic possession movie at best. Okay guys, at the end of these reviews, I always like to leave a little fun fact. Now, a fun fact for The Exorcist Believer, that Ellen Burstyn turned down the role for her return of Chris MacNeil. However, she was then offered double money and she accepted. But she gave all the money to this charity she's involved with. So, yeah, you could tell her heart wasn't really in it anyway. It's all just a bit of a mess, isn't it? Okay, guys, I hope you all enjoyed this review. What did you think of The Exorcist Believer? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you want to see my other Exorcist reviews, I've done 1, 2, and 3. They will be in the link in the description down below. And I'm going to have an Exorcist ranking coming very soon. So thanks so much, everyone. You all take care, and I'll see you on the next video.